This garden is 6 months old. There was the ropey, the crepe myrtles, and a couple other sparse plants were already here, but there was no rhythm, there was no organization and no flow to this area. It was just like very sporadically placed plantings. So what I did is I worked with that, and I just strategically put plants to kind of help bring everything together and look more uniform and purposeful, which, you know, I'm very happy with the outcome considering that we're in the middle of December and things are looking as good as they are. I really have no complaints. But I have to admit, I slightly overplanted it because I knew he wanted instant results. So I didn't want him to have to wait a whole year or two before he got that filled in look. But I did that knowing that I had plenty of room to spread plants throughout other areas of the garden. One example of the heathers that I'm going to be removing is this one, because there is a nandina right there and it's clearly blocking it from getting sun and water. So I'm going to be taking this one out and relocating it down to the other side of the yard. Down here, these trees used to have individual little circles around them, and I'm grateful that he took my recommendation to just join them all together and make one continuous bed that comes from behind this pool area all the way to the end of the fence. And this is where I'm going to just follow through with putting the heathers and some of the lorope that I divide on down. I don't know if I'm going to get to every single thing today. I'm hoping to. I wanted to share the progress of tackling things a season later after a slightly overplanted install. Here's another heather that I think needs to be removed. There's two there. There's one here. This one I'm going to maybe cut back and move it over a little. Look at the bees going crazy on this heather. Just look at them. You see, I don't want to even cut all this back because all of these pollinators are looking for food this time of year. And the last thing I want to do is interrupt their supply. But I think that there is no shortage of heather in this area. So this is going to be the first one that I move, especially because it's kind of taken over that nandina right there. So I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity that I'm spending to divide plants, and I'm going to focus on the ones that are actually jeopardizing others first. So the first thing I'm going to do is just trim the outer edges of this heather to get it to a manageable size. Now, I just chose to shape that into a mini shrub. Don't have to do it that way. I just prefer it that way. There. Now you can see the shape that I chose to go with. Let me get all these cuttings. There's 1, 2 that I missed down here. Now you can see just by tugging that up, this is on the edge of a heather. Heather is very easy to divide. So I was just trying to actually break that branch off and a whole little section came up. If you do have heather that you want to spread, there you go. That's how it looks like when you can pull off little sections like this from the outer edge and you have a new plant. You would just cut this back right here and plant this up and you would have a whole new plant. And this is the middle of December, and it is the best time to do this. Now through, I would say you can transplant heather any time of year, but the best time is probably from November to February. And then after that, you've got a little bit less success rate, but you can still be successful if you have to watch it a little more, you have to babysit it. But this time of year, I can literally transplant it and forget about it because the temperatures are so mild. This plant will naturally recover on its own. Okay, so now before I dig that up, I'm going to go and create the place that I want to relocate it to. There's probably a couple others that might need to be moved or thinned out, but I'm just gonna do one at a time and then kind of look at the area, because sometimes getting too far ahead creates gaps bigger than I would have expected. So let me see where I'm going to put this one. So I know there's a sprinkler head over here. That's why I've got that flag there to just remind me, because naturally I would want to put a shrub right there, but it would just obstruct that sprinkler. So I think I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna go right here with this spot, and I'm gonna dig a hole for that heather. Now I'm hitting some sort of stone. Let's see what this is. It's really big. What is this? Whatever this is, it's really big. Okay, now I feel like I'm an archaeologist and I have to know what it is. Because I thought I knew where all of the, okay, so it must be, looks like some sort of garden art. Okay, so nothing I need to worry about. I thought it was something, I don't know, bigger that I was gonna have to work around, thank goodness. Now, here is a very good example of why you should mulch. So in this hole, you can see the layers of soil and how over the years the mulch has contributed to adding health to it. Anyway, so down here we have the original native soil. That's the clay looking color. Now up here we have the mulch layer. Over time, as it rains, the layer where the soil and the mulch make contact, right there, composting is occurring. And slowly over time, the nutrients from that compost is just seeping slowly into the soil, and it's being fed naturally. So that is why mulching is so important. Mulching is not only a cosmetic addition to your landscape, it is actually the only consistent and natural way that you can feed your garden consistently all year long, all time, and then Mother Nature just does it on her own every time it rains. That process is happening. So that is why you continuously need to keep adding mulch, because it is breaking down and feeding your soil, and this is where it's feeding it. And over time, that area will get wider and wider and wider. The longer you keep mulch, the deeper the nutrients will go and the more healthy soil structure you have. So that is the reason why mulching is so important. Now back to digging the hole for the heather. I think that's plenty. So let's go over to the heather. And I'm not trying to get every root. I'm just trying to make sure I get a good percentage of roots, but I don't have to get every root. That's something that's often misunderstood. And before I start prying, I am just gonna dig around the drip line in a complete circle. A lot of people put the shovel in there and start prying right away. That's not really productive. The productive way is to make a complete circle and break the soil's barrier and all the way around. So when you start prying, it's already loosened up around there. Now, I still think that root ball is a little too big, so I'm gonna go around and shave a little more off. Now, if I had a bigger shovel, this would probably have been done already, but I do choose to work with a small shovel. Now, this root ball is we don't need that. I don't need to transplant that much dirt. So I'm gonna chop off as much as I can comfortably. Technically, I could divide up this heather into 10 plants if I wanted, but we have plenty to go around and I don't need to do that. But if you're in a place, if you're in a situation that you have one heather and you have 10 places that you would like to see that heather, this is how you would do it. And you could use some type of knife to just carve straight through. I've got a video on that of how to divide plants that I'll put in the description for those who haven't seen that process. But a pruning knife works really well. A serrated edge it's almost like it was made for this. Okay, so now this is a more manageable root size. Now my hole was not quite big enough, so I'm definitely gonna widen that up a little bit. Then set it right down in there. And you want to try to keep wherever the soil level was previously needs to be put in so it's consistent as close as possible to the level of soil of the new location. Now, normally if we were doing this at any other later time of the year, I would say you need to water this in right away. I'm going to come back and water them all at once. I'm not worried about this plant. I know this plant transplants well, and I'm not as concerned. If I notice it wilting before I get to the watering part, then I will go ahead and give it water. But I think it's going to be just fine. Okay, so I need to skip this area because of the sprinkler head there, but this is where the next one's going to go, right here. So I'm going to go ahead and dig that hole because I know I want one here. Okay, should be plenty. Now let's go see what we're going to put. I'm just going to cut those down and plant one of the heathers right there. Should just be able to break off. Put the heather right here. So I'm digging all these holes in the places that I know I can put one. So I'm going to see if I can move this one without cutting it back because it is smaller than the rest. It's the one right in the middle. So I'm doing the same principle, making a circle around the plant. This is the smallest one right here. And when I put these three in, I knew they would get really big, but at the same time, I also planned on coming in this time of year. At least I was hoping that he would still have me do his garden care. So this root ball was much bigger than I thought, so I'm going to have to take a little bit off of the top. So since I'm going to do just a tad, what I do is I grab it in a ponytail like this, and I just do a couple inches just to give it a nice cleanup. And then I go around the outer edges and do it a tiny bit shorter than I did the middle, just to give it a little cleaner look. Okay, now this one, since I didn't cut it as aggressively, I think it's going to need water, so I don't want to wait on that. I want to go ahead and get that one watered in. Okay. Actually, I think I may have planted more than 3 right here. I think I may have planted 5. Okay, so I might need to take a couple more out from here. Now that I'm getting underneath and seeing where the base of the plants are. So right here, there's 2 separate plants. I'm going to leave this one, and I'm going to remove this one because this is the one that's closest to the azalea, which is the plant we're trying to make sure always has enough room. So the ones that I'm going to keep here, I'm just going to trim a tiny bit. So this one is staying too, so I'm cleaning this one up. I don't know how this one got so much bigger than that one. I mean, this one's like almost twice the size. I can't even make my ponytail. I might have to come back with the hedge trimmers for this one. Yeah, this one's basically too big to even prune with my pruners like this. So if you're new to gardening and you hear the words prune, trim, cut, and wondered what the difference is, there is no difference. I've just caught myself using these words. They're interchangeable words, and when somebody says the word prune, they're talking about cutting. There are some people that will think that pruning is a strategic cut, but to me, every cut should be strategic. Whether you're trimming, pruning, cutting, it's all the same thing. You are using a blade and you're removing a part of the plant. So I don't want you to, get caught up. Sometimes as a new gardener, it's really easy to get discouraged when you hear these words used interchangeably, and then you worry if you're understanding what they're saying correctly. Don't stress over that. I'm just here to tell you they mean the same thing. Some people will use them more strategically than others, but I am one of the people that use them interchangeably all the time. So now I'm going to focus on getting those 2 watered in that I've already moved, especially the one that I didn't cut back very much. That one done. Then I'm going to go ahead and come over here since I have this one already planted and the water's on. So I've got the last heather that I'm going to relocate for the day. And it is, I think, just the right size for where it's going. I want to mention that when you're removing plants from one spot to another, sometimes you'll have too much dirt where the new home is because you're bringing it over a clump and you've dug a hole. So the leftover dirt can go in the place where you took it out if it's a little low. So it's just a matter of work, moving stuff around, because you don't just want to leave random clumps of dirt or dips in your landscape. So there's a little bit here, and then a little bit there. So this is where a heather was that was completely altering how this lantana grows, and then it was also covering that yaupon. So I'm glad I chose this one to move. I'm going to cut back those lantanas because they don't have anything much to offer, and they should come back next year, but if they don't, we have plenty in this landscape. But they didn't grow very nice looking, so it's better for them to just start over whenever they're ready than to just try and make that look good this time of year. I'm not trying to promote any type of lush landscape. Oh, here's another random spawn of heather that I came across that I'm gonna just find a place for. So what I'm gonna do is trim this, put it in my pile of debris, and then find a cozy place to tuck this heather that won't interfere with anything else. If it just kind of was a pup that came off the side or something, I'm not going to put too much energy into it, but it's better than throwing it away. If there's space for it, it doesn't hurt to put it there. Okay, so I have finished up the task of relocating those heathers, cleaning up the garden over there. I have the sprinklers running right now to kind of help water everything in. There's still heathers that need attention in that corner and over here, but I'm gonna postpone those until probably next month or so. I torched a lot of the weeds in this area, like along the rocks and around the plants and the pathway. So that should be good, hopefully, to get us through early spring, I'm thinking. But you can tell there's a big gap right there. There's lantanas there that I cut back because it was overcrowded with a couple lantanas and heather. So when I removed the heather and cut back the lantanas, now it looks really empty. However, there's still plants there that will come back in the spring, and I may come back with some annuals there. I'm not sure yet. It depends on how things balance out by the time I'm done moving those heathers and stuff. But I like the idea of the nandina and the yaupon having no competition for the cool season. I did want to tackle those heathers over there, but there's so many pollinators right now that I feel better about leaving them. They're very small and they'll be fine for a while. And anyway, other than that, I mean, I just gave the garden a good clean up. And oh, also this azalea. There was a total of 5 heathers I planted here, and I removed 3. So now there's 2 left, and the 1 that I removed from over there and the 3 that I removed from over here, I was able to divide them and place them strategically throughout the garden. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a total of 4 heathers that were installed along those beds over there. Where it's pretty sparse, so it's good that something's being added over there. But other than that, that's the progress for today in this garden. Okay, so it's been a couple weeks since I came in here with the torched some weeds underneath these, and all the growth under there that had died off. It was just kind of piling up. Everything seems to be recovering fine. That is, you know, how things are looking. Oh, a couple weeks later, I took a few out of here too. There were a total of 5 heathers here, and I took 3 to clear out around that azalea, and it can breathe now. Let me go check on the ones down here. Here's one that I put in over here, and then there's another one here. So far, everything is looking fine. So I hope this video gave you some good ideas of what strategy to use when you're going to start dividing your plants, is to use a certain strategy when choosing which plants to divide and move, because we're in the middle of December and there's a lot of perennials that need to be removed right now or divided, but or relocated, not taken out of the garden, but relocated to a better spot because they're overcrowded, or just divided and scaled down. And there's a certain strategy, because I can't do them all in one day. So there's a strategy in choosing the ones that are going to benefit the most